Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is your brother Nafis Abu Zayd. And with me.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Isa Abu Isa. And we're doing another episode of The Night Shift. We came with this show, alhamdulillah, to combat cult characteristics, hizbiyya, hadadiyya, and to protect the honor of the Muslims.
Brothers and sisters, tonight, inshallah ta'ala, will be the final remarks of Maktab Ibn Taymiyyah in our recent debate with S-Pubs and Co. And we will be using the speech of Shaykh Uthaymeen rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh and a private meeting that have taken place amongst some British students as well as some American students back in 1999. And interestingly enough, as we read the words of the Shaykh and the questions that he's going to answer, this inshallah ta'ala should shed light. One of our brothers, Abdul Qadir, Abdul Khaliq, he was actually present, I believe, at this actual meeting. But it will shed some light on the current fitna that we see ourselves facing now. The back and forth, the arguing and debating without having any skill sets or studying how to critique or to do proper research or even debate within the confinements or the guidelines of the Islamic Sharia. The name calling, the character assassination, the personal squabble, the not really wanting the truth to be the main objective, to be sought after. And this is what we should, alhamdulillah, concentrate on and focus on by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala. So Shaykh Uthaymeen, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, many of you already know who the Shaykh is. He's one of the great mountains of knowledge, alhamdulillah, and he was also praised by many of the ulama. However, Muhammad ibn Salih Uthaymeen, in the year 1999, as we said, he's going to have a private meeting with some brothers from Britain as well as some American Muslims. They had the great honor and privilege of meeting the esteemed scholar, rahmatullah ta'ala alayh, and he granted them this meeting, and this took place in the masjid in the office of UNASA, which is in Saudi Arabia. What follows is the actual transcript of that particular meeting. My brother Isa Abu Isa is going to begin to read, inshallah, and we will comment on that as we go. Okay, so we're going to get right into the meat of it, dealing with the questions and answers, and not so much, inshallah ta'ala, dealing with the introduction, actually. No. We're going to go into the questions and answers.
The first question was of our brothers to the Shaykh, rahimahullah. It says, when two scholars give differing judgments on a personal issue, how do we decide upon which opinion to choose? Do we look at the specialization of the scholar, his age, or just the evidence he brings?
Now, brothers and sisters, before continuing with the actual answer of the Shaykh, we want you to understand that these questions circulate around what has been taking place in the public, also on the social medias and the back and forth amongst the brothers. These questions are very pertinent, and they pertain to actually what's going on, inshallah. So, alhamdulillah, the Shaykh has asked about two scholars who give different judgments, okay, on a personal issue. How do we decide upon which opinion to choose? This is important. Do we look at the specialization of the scholar, his age, or just the evidence which he brings? The Shaykh responds.
The Shaykh responds and he says, it is well known and important that we know what is correct through the means of evidence. Yet, it is upon him, the person seeking the truth, to follow whom he sees is closer to that which is correct. This is according to the scholar's knowledge and the level of trust in him.
So let's stop there. So, first and foremost, it might be possible that the lay people who do not understand what is adilla, which is the plural for the word dalil, what is actual evidence or considered evidence, then the Shaykh, alhamdulillah, he said, for the one who's seeking the truth, then he's going to follow that which is closest to that which he deems to be correct. And some of the scholars from among them is the companion Abdullah ibn Abbas, radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, who is the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. He mentioned in Sahih Bukhari when a fatwa is being passed, then you go with that fatwa that is close to your heart, that which you believe in your heart to be the truth. So sometimes you will use your heart in the issue to decide the matter. Here, Shaykh Uthaymeen saying the scholar should possess two things, according to the scholar's knowledge, as well as the level of trust in him. So your trust, and as well as how firm or firmly grounded the scholar is in ilm. You can go ahead.
Exactly. As far as knowledge, there are indeed people who speak without knowledge. He may have some aspects of knowledge, while having yet missed many other aspects. As far as trust, there are some people who have a lot of knowledge, yet he looks to what the people desire and therefore becomes negligent and rules according to what suits the questioner. So if scholars disagree, look to who is closest to what is correct, just as two doctors may differ in a diagnosis or treatment of an illness. You will follow the one whose diagnosis you see is deeper and more thorough.
So the Shaykh, alhamdulillah, is basically telling you, as many of the people might be aware, that Sufyan ibn Uyayna, he used to say, beware of the scholars, beware of sitting in the gatherings of the rulers. And sometimes a person can be deemed a scholar and he can have a certain amount of knowledge, and however he can be swayed by the people, as the Sheikh is saying, or the desires of the people,
or emotions.
They call them like scholars for dollars.
Yeah, they call them. Yeah, the Khawarij use that a lot.
Yeah, we're not saying that about any of the scholars that we revered and we respect and love and honor, but we're saying that it's possible, as the Sheikh is saying. So you want to be real careful and extremely careful that the two scholars you're talking about in question, when they give a judgment, you want to make sure that they have firm grounding knowledge and that you trust them. That you trust them.
As if a judge shouldn't judge now if he's angry.
Nah.
Stuff like that, all of that comes into play.
So where does this pertain to Salafi Pub and Co? Okay. Recently, Maktab Ibn Taymiyyah, we have asked the brothers to present their evidence for labeling some individuals from amongst other students, from amongst the Salafis, as being deviant and what usul they have proposed. And I want to be fair, and I'm going to be fair here, is that they did respond to some of our questions, if not all. And the way that they responded might not have been sufficient enough for us, but we still have to recognize that they responded. And what I mean by that is that we asked a response and we had the following respond.
He responded to
We're getting to that. We had the following respond. We had the response from our brother Bilal Davis, Abu Hakeem Bilal Davis, in the forms of what he called doubts surrounding the dawah. And I think he reached up to the 10th part. But within those series, you see that he did go back and explain the reason why they took the positions that they have taken against the other fellow Salafi students. And I guess this was by way of his response to us. So we have to recognize that they did respond. Also, another one respond was Amjad Rafiq. He responded, and we dealt with his response, but he still responded. In terms to our talk we did with athars are not dalil in and of themselves. And we also had the likes of Hassan Somali, who responded, and his clip, 30-minute clip that he dealt about the doubt that the students cannot refute in the West. So all of these brothers, we see they have responded in some way. Abu Khadija, even if he didn't use the best adab and etiquette when referring to the brothers who was asking him legitimate questions, we're still going to say that he responded as well in the form of tweets. Also, we had Hamza Abdul Razak. I believe he responded, as we all know, in the lecture that they given. So they responded. Now let's legitimately look at this in terms. When we are dealing with two different scholars that raise a ruling on a personal issue here, or a particular person, then let's understand this, Salafi Pub and Co. Is it binding? Is it an obligation that if Sheikh Rabi', the scholar whom you respect, and whom we respect as well, Sheikh Muhammad Mahadi, Sheikh Ubaid, or Sheikh Abdullah Bukhari give a ruling to you guys about a specific individual from amongst the Salafis, is it binding the obligation that now everyone have to take that? Because according to what Sheikh Uthaymeen is saying here, you have to have a level of trust for that particular scholar.
Yep.
You have to have also what? That you have to, that scholar has to be firmly grounded
in knowledge.
And later on, you're going to see, brothers and sisters, that the Sheikh also says some other stuff that it's not going to be a shocking. It's just going to be letting us know that every scholar doesn't hold the same position as our brothers at Salafi and Pub make it seem as black and white. It's not black and white.
No, it's not.
Not every scholar holds this position. So is it an obligation that we have to take the refutation of Sheikh Ubaid against any of the brothers, or take the rud of Sheikh Rabi' against Sheikh Tahir? Then the answer to this, and I believe we answered this already in the book that we dealt with the book of Sheikh Ahmed Najjar, dealing with the usul of bid'ah. The answer is no. And also I believe we dealt with it in the fatwa of Sheikh Rabi' himself. The answer is no. It's not obligatory or binding upon any individual who does not deem that the evidence is sufficient enough, detailed enough, or he doesn't know about the issue, that he have to take it. What do I mean by this? Sheikh Salih Suhaimi, and I wanted to play this recording, which I should have had it prepared so y'all can hear the Sheikh words yourself. He was asked about two students. He was saying that there is a student of knowledge who deals with another student of knowledge who does not deem Abu Hassan al-Ma'ribi to be an innovator. What do we do in this case, O Sheikh? So Sheikh Salih Suhaimi actually became upset. He says, what do you mean? It's possible that the person, whether you're a student of knowledge or not, it's possible that he don't know Abu Hassan al-Ma'ribi affair. It's possible. So you cannot make it binding, the Sheikh goes on to say, that he has to take a stance against Abu Hassan al-Ma'ribi, nor can you make it, nor is it acceptable from you to boycott him because he doesn't. Now this is Sheikh Salih Suhaimi clarifying this matter to us, that it's not like that. And if y'all seen Salafi Pub, as Bilal Davis so eloquently put it in this 10-part series, that the positions that they have been taking throughout the years against certain brothers is going to revolve around this particular issue here. The principles of Abu Hassan al-Ma'ribi and Hassan al-Halabi.
Well, Sheikh Uthaymeen was asking a phone call. He said if a scholar makes a jar of a particular student of knowledge, of a particular individual, is it making binding upon us? The Sheikh said no.
So it's many scholars that speak like this. So Salafi and Co., this is our final remarks on that. It is not binding. It is not obligatory. So we ask you guys to fear Allah. And let's not split up the communities amongst the Salafiyun, especially the lay people, and having them taking sides. It's okay now if you guys, as Sheikh Uthaymeen is saying here, if you deem that the news or the fatwa, the hukam, was just, and that you deem that, you trust the scholars who passed it, then it's okay for you to ride with that. And we don't fault you for that. But then it becomes a problem, becomes separations. So this is what we want to clarify with that. Inshallah ta'ala, the next question is...
And before we go into some of the scholars, they also make it clear that the issues of jah or stuff like that is ijtihadat.
No.
And if it's ijtihadat, it may be, the proof may be convincing to one group and not to the other group. So if an individual say, well, to me, I'm on this group here, I looked at both sides, that side is saying he's an innovator, that side is saying that he got issues, it's not convincing to me. This is more convincing. How do you now... Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Pardon us for the interruption. We had technical difficulties. We're going to reread the question again, inshallah.
Second question that the brothers asked Sheikh Uthaymeen rahimahullah. If we choose one of the two scholars, right, opinions about a person, group, or issue, how do we treat those who choose an opinion different from us? How do we treat an individual who chooses an opinion different from us? And this basically goes right in, like you said, right into what we're just talking about, the issue of if we have two opinions and somebody chooses an opinion that's not our opinion, that we don't see as the correct opinion, and we have our own opinion, what do we do now when that happens?
So here the scholar is saying, pay attention to the question. He asks about three things here. An opinion about a person, So it's one specific, a group specifically, or an issue. And wallahi, brothers and sisters, maybe one day we get a chance to finish reading the book of Sheikh Salih Suhaimi that deals with all of this, and he has a nice chapter in there called Al-Murji' in the Tanazi', and dealing with the returning point for when you have a dispute. And I think these simple principles have been overlooked, even among students, because it's a must that there's going to be differing. Differing definitely is definitely going to occur. That's no doubt about it. As the more you learn, the more you come across different things, the more subjects, there's always going to be room for debate.
Allah says, It's always going to be different.
So if you differ over anything, then that'll be that, inshallah. So the Sheikh, he said, it is necessary that you cooperate in a manner that shows love and excusing them as long as they do not abandon or forsake the correct Aqidah. Now I want to say something here. The Sheikh is acknowledging that if the origin of this particular individual Aqidah is sound, that he has the Aqidah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that he understands the usul, the fundamental usul, the foundation of the belief system of the Salaf, then in that case, you want to make sure you have love in your differing, and you want to make sure you practice the kind treatment of making excuses as long as his Aqidah is correct. And I think this somehow get lost. We're so eager with our brothers from S-Pubs and Co. And let's be fair. And from our brothers from amongst the students who S-Pubs and Co. has maybe oppressed, maybe ostracized, have spoken ill of, have treated them in a bad way or a negative light, then we advise them, as well as we advise ourselves and the brothers from S-Pubs, to not refer back to a personal squabble, a back and forth name calling. You said this about me, I say this about you. Brothers and sisters, where I'm going at with this, no, I'm not being soft. I just don't believe that the truth is going to be desired or going to be sought after if all we keep doing is going forever.
Well, it gets lost in translation.
Exactly, because now everybody want to defend their position and their honor. Defend the truth. And here the Sheikh is saying, listen, if the Aqidah is sound, if all of you claiming to have the sound Aqidah, you're all reading from the same books on I'tiqad, the belief of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, why there is no excuse and no love shown?
Well, when it comes down to, like we said videos before, it comes down to, if you have all these factions and each one claiming to be on the Sunnah, and we're not united, then from amongst them groups, there's a group amongst those groups, amongst us, that are not being sincere and are lying. So when you have somebody lying and not being sincere, it causes this type of, this is the result of being unsincere and lying and oppressing each other. It comes to this point at this point.
Yeah, but everybody can be a part of that. It's not just it's just that one group or the other group. All of us have to take some accountability in terms of this personal squabble, which I'm totally against. And I see that it's just going on, and it's going on, and there's really no benefit or getting closer to Allah. Now, we all claim that we follow the Salaf. The Sheikh is going to say because the companions, they are the Salaf. The companions, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, differ in matters, yet they agreed in principle. They differ on different issues. Because their Aqidah was the same, they was intact.
Yeah, they stayed intact.
They stayed intact. Because their Aqidah was the same, it kept them intact. They differ, and yet they agree in principle and were in conformity. They were in agreement, mutafiqun, that the aim was to reach the truth and what was correct, and they were in conformity with the Sharia. So they understood that the aim should be what? The truth. That's what should be the aim. So brothers from S-Pub and Co. and brothers who write against S-Pub and Co., let's make sure that the aim is the truth, because there is a science within the science of Islam that deals with the proper etiquettes of how to debate, how to do manadhara, how to do jidal. It goes over this, and I don't think a lot of us, I know myself, haven't covered any mas'ala dealing with how to argue or debate properly.
One of the things that happens when you don't, because it's okay to feel a certain way if somebody slanders you and attack your honor. We're not going to take humanity away from people. But the problem is that when you put that in your refutation, your response, you can see it, you can hear it, and what happens is that your responses, even though you may be right, start being venomous. And when they become venomous and you start to label people and call them out of their names and things like that on both sides. And when that happens, it kind of becomes an entertainment. What you call those shows they have, real life shows? I don't know what they call them now. Real life TVs, whatever they call them things now, right?
Real TV.
Yeah, where it's
Reality
like a
TV.
reality TV. It becomes an entertainment because now everybody just jumps on and clicks on because what are he going to say about him tonight?
Exactly.
What are you going to say about him? And the reality is that it gets low. We're not taking humanity away from nobody. No doubt about it. Shaykh Uthaymeen said himself, somebody call you a deviant, he will feel some type of way. It will hurt. It hurts for somebody to call you out of your name. But you have to control your responses because all we want really is the principles to be established. And you start defending your honor, you stop defending Islam.
Well, I'm going to give you 3 points from the Salaf. And let's just overlook at this. One is a narration that was attributed to Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Many of us might have heard this famous narration. However, I don't know the authenticity of this particular narration. And as Shaykh Uthaymeen mentioned in his commentary of Baiquniya, he said that you will find that there be a narration that is famous amongst the scholars and amongst the people. However, the narration may or may not be true. However, the beautiful point that we can take from this narration is that on the battlefield, during the time of jihad, Ali ibn Abi Talib was fighting with an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And in the midst of fighting with this individual, the individual, however, he spat on him.
Yeah.
He spat on him.
Right before he's going to kill him.
Right before he was going to kill him, he spat on him. So, you know how disgusting that can be when someone spat or spit on you, right? So, Ali withheld himself in the midst of battle. Now, I want to tell you, in the midst of battle right now, you're not even thinking about control, right? You know, you're hard pressed against the enemy. You're worried about defending yourself, and you're worried about making sure the truth is done. He had controlled himself in his anger. When the guy spat on him, he stopped himself and he didn't strike him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he realized then and there, as the scholars explain from this narration, that he saw that would have been personal.
Yeah, exactly.
In the matter of jihad is an act of ibadah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Where I'm going to get to my point. So after that, you know, that's one point. We see in the midst of battle, not going what? Giving it to your personal squires. Another point I want to bring is the hadith
the actual act of ibadah
of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, where he and another individual was engaged in a dispute, him and another companion. And the man was saying some things to Abu Bakr, and the Prophet ﷺ was sitting there, and Abu Bakr was being quiet as the man was saying something.
Mm-hmm.
But Abu Bakr couldn't remain quiet long enough, and he started to respond.
Because the man was attacking his honor.
Exactly. And he was attacking his honor. He responded back towards the man, and the Prophet ﷺ got up and left.
Yep.
So when Abu Bakr got up with the Prophet ﷺ, he asked him, why did you, when the man was saying something, you didn't leave, but when I responded back, you left. He said, because as you were sitting there not saying anything, the angels was defending you.
Yep.
But when you went to defend your own honor, the angels left, so I got up and left. Again, showing us what? The point of even defending your honor in this narration, but the point of what? Personal issues involved in debating. Another point I want to bring is the issue that's dealt with Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Okay? And desiring the truth. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when one argue with another, the truth should be what? It shouldn't be no personal squabble should get involved, because it's going to contaminate the truth.
It does, and also it shouldn't matter who establishes the truth, whether it's off your tongue or off theirs. You have to accept it.
You have to accept it, because that's the point, and that's what the Sheikh's saying here. Their principle, their core, their akida was sound. So if we're on sound footing, then when we're going to debate, I'm not looking at you like an enemy. It's possible that you could have felt into an error. And it's possible that error can lead to more errors. Exactly. And it's possible it can be a grave error. But guess what? because we have the same core belief, it demands for me to treat you in a better way. And that's normally what we're not seeing now with us Pubs and Co. And even with some of the other brothers who are responding back, all of us are seeing it. It's just going back and forth, and we start to lose what is the debate about. So our debate, Maktab Ibn Taymiyyah, they responded back to some of our questions, and they still have yet to us establish the core fact that these guys are, the brothers we asked about, are actually innovators. And I believe why that to be the case, inshallah ta'ala, is because number one, brothers and sisters, you got to realize the Salafi Pub and Co., they are, as Bilal Davis eloquently put it, as Amjad Rafiq put it, and even as Hamza Abdul Razak said, and even as many other the brothers have said, are scholars, and I believe, as Amjad reported, are scholars, meaning Sheikh Rabi', Sheikh Ubaid, Sheikh Muhammad al-Hadi, and Sheikh Abdullah Bukhari. Multiple times in articles, Amjad written this, Bilal said this, and multiple times they mentioned when they was referring to our scholars, these were the names that was coming up.
Exactly.
And they called them the scholars of Medina. So, these particular scholars, they believe that what they have written of Sheikh Rabi'a refutation, as well as what they have got back from these scholars about certain individuals and characteristics of Halabi principles and Ma'ri principles, that's the proof for them.
No.
So basically, the reason why they're not going to answer whether or not these guys are deviants, all they have to see is that if it is in line with the principles that Sheikh Rabi'a outlined against Halabi or Ma'ri, and any of the brothers from the Salafiyun falls into that, then this is the proof in itself. This is why they're not answering and responding to us.
Well, they haven't answered about the agreement, which has nothing to do with Halabi or Ma'rabi. The fact that they haven't answered the agreement. So they haven't answered to that at all.
So the Sheikh, he said, look, listen, he said they were in agreement. He's talking about the companions now. He said also, every person will not attain the same understanding as another. So if there is a difference upon an issue, there is no need for a dispute. We all agree to be on one line, meaning the same Aqidah. Because I know that my companion holding the other opinion will not differ from me without following the evidence. And I likewise will not differ from him other than upon evidence. Our aim is the same. Then it is not permissible for one to have any hatred, nor anger, nor enmity towards the other. We have many examples of this. And then the Sheikh, because he was a faqih, he's going to give us some benefit here.
You know what's deep is that, before you go on with the Sheikh who said it, what's deep here is that if you have the Kitab al-Sunnah Ijma', which is the source evidence that we use as Ahlul Sunnah, right? And all of us claim to follow that and to take resources from that. Just because you go into those three sources of information doesn't mean you're going to end up correct. Because everybody has a different understanding of things.
And that's what the Sheikh is saying here.
Right? Everybody has a different understanding, a different level of understanding, or they may take from different scholars, or one scholar said this, you agree with that point. So if we arrive at different opinions from the same source material, then if whoever made the mistake, then all we do is advise them and show them what was the correct result and bring them to the correct result. That's all that has to be done. Splitting and calling names because I don't accept your position, this shows lack of sincerity, arrogance, and being venomous towards one another, and it never gets us anywhere.
It don't get us nowhere, and that have been done on both sides. Multiple times we see people twisting words, implying meanings, quick and hasty to pass rulings, calling people out of their names, character assassination, defending and defaming one another. We see a lot of this has been taking place over the past course months or so, been like 2 or 3 months or so, dealing with this fitna in public. And it's a shame because whenever you have a scholarly debate, you're supposed to be, as lay people and as anyone, you're supposed to be able to do what? Take away some benefit. I give you what? When you go for your master's and your thesis, you're arguing your point. Your thesis, your research that you put together, you're going to argue in front of 3 scholars. And y'all going to go back. But this is a munakasha that is healthy. And you're going to argue your points by the permission of Allah. Why we don't see this from the writings of our brothers towards one another? Why we don't see the scholastic points and proof? Why we don't see the outline of Qala Allah, ayat, Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ahadith, Qala ashab, the statements of the companions, how they had ijma' on this issue, how it was understood this issue. Why we don't see that? What we see is he said this statement, he did this, I did that, he said I did that, he's claiming we did this, and that's it. That don't get nowhere. And this shows our levels. And what I mean by the Esquab and Co, this shows that even though we put on ears that we all have this amount of knowledge, we don't have it. And it shows in our refutation of one another. Sheikh Al-Albani and Sheikh Tuwaidri, they both had a debate. And they will refute one another. And if you go back to their refutations, which are written, look how they uphold each other's honor. Look how the points that they have point out. Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Al-Abad, he had a conversation where he debated an issue that he didn't agree with Sheikh Al-Albani on. And they go back and forth. But it was with adab. And you get benefit from it. They bring in hadith you probably never heard of. They bring in an understanding from a hadith you never heard of. This is ilmiyah. Not this stuff that we seeing now back and forth on Twitter. He said this about me, so I'm going to say this about him. We said 70 mistakes of Mustafa George. I'm going to come back with 30 minutes and 30 minutes and 3 minutes, right? Of Abu Aliyah. Come on, man. This stuff is like, it's making Islam look bad. It's making Islam look bad, and it's pushing people away from Salafiyah altogether. It's pushing people away from Salafiyah altogether. And this is what Sheikh Salih Suhaimi was saying, and this is as well as Sheikh Badr al-Otabi. Sheikh continues, and he mentioned a beautiful point that we can learn from. We can't be long tonight. But the Sheikh, he said, when the Prophet ﷺ, dealing with the matter of Bani Qurayda, for those who don't know, there were 3 Jewish tribes during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and one of those Jewish tribes in Medina was Bani Qurayda. When the Prophet ﷺ returned from the battle of Ahzab, the Confederates battle, and they had put down their preparations for war, Jibril came to him, an angel. He came to him and ordered him to go out to Bani Qurayda in their homeland and fight them because they had broken their treaty between them and the Muslims. So the Prophet ﷺ delegated his companions, telling them not to pray Asr except in Bani Qurayda. When they reached the homeland of Bani Qurayda, that's when you pray Asr. And it was far from Al-Medina. They set out from Al-Medina, and the Asr prayer came in. And the Asr prayer came in, and some amongst them prayed, saying that the Prophet ﷺ told us not to pray except in Bani Qurayda, only to urge us to hurry. That was one group of the companions' understanding. He only said that so that we can hurry. But when the time came in, we're going to pray. Then another group of the companions, they said, no, we're going to wait. We're not going to pray until we reach there. And that the sun goes down. Then they reached the Prophet ﷺ, and he did not blame or censure any of them, nor did he find fault with any of them or the other. And brothers and sisters, this is about true knowledge here. For y'all don't know about this hadith here, and for those who do know about the hadith, this hadith established what for us? It's called qiyas, analogical deduction. And Imam Shafi'i, he used it in his book when he talks about how qiyas was used amongst the Sahabas. Also, there's another narration mentioned more. But here, the Sheikh is bringing this because the Sheikh is strong in fiqh.
But he's showing that also different is going to occur.
Not only that different going to occur, but he also showing you what to do when different occur. Here are 2 companions. One didn't blast out the other one because you decided to wait. And the other didn't blast out the other one because they decided to what? Pray. The Prophet ﷺ, when they got back to him, he said, y'all both was.
Yeah, they took it to a judge. And then they took it to somebody with knowledge within themselves.
And he dealt with it. He said, at the end, he said here, he said, this is what is obligatory. If I know that if the different companion is well intended, and he will only differ from me due to evidence with him, it is necessary to know that it is not permitted, nor for me to feel hatred towards him. Why should I? If I was to justify detesting him, it means that I am justifying to myself that I must be obeyed as though I am infallible. This is not permissible. His argument against me is like mine against him, and he can say what you don't. He can say why you don't obey me. So, in other words, you can't make it binding upon anyone to accept your argument or that with your point of cost against them. You don't have to make it binding on anyone.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's not from the usul.
Why? Because you're not infallible.
Exactly.
You're not infallible. And here, right here, you don't have to do that. Your argument against me is my argument against you.
Exactly.
And if we taking the proper steps on the reason why we're arguing to arrive at the truth,
we haven't really differed anyway.
We haven't differed anyway. Question number 3, didn't mean to spend too long on that. Does this apply as well if a scholar has criticized a person?
The Sheikh, he says, yes. He says, I do not like scholars to criticize one another.
Allahu Akbar.
Especially at this time.
Let's go back again. Does this apply as well if a scholar has criticized a person? These questions is pertaining to what's going on right now.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
It says, yes. I do not like scholars who criticize one another, especially at this time. The youth have not reached this level. It is my opinion that there should be respectfulness from the side of the scholars, and whoever sees his fellow scholars as mistaken should speak to him privately.
Number one.
And if it becomes clear that the truth is with one or the other, it is then obligatory to follow him, the correct one, in it. And if the truth is not made clear, then each one has his place.
Each one has its place. They don't separate.
No.
They don't differ. They don't warn against each other.
But it's not binding upon each other.
But it's not binding upon each other. Go ahead.
As far as harsh disputations, indeed, outright partisanship and hotly taking sides, reaching the level of enmity and hatred over differing over some person among the scholars, then this is an error.
Pay attention to this wording here. He said, as far as harsh disputation, brothers and sisters, I ask you all, what do you see back and forth right now? You see a lot of harsh disputations, name calling, character assassination,
outright partisanship.
Now, look at this. Making a his based off a position that you take. We brothers here, brothers in group A, we feel as though that this is the correct position.
Yep.
So we're going to make a his together against this group B who don't take our position. Do we not see that?
And we're going to call against them too.
And we're going to call against them. And hotly taking sides, reaching the level of enmity and hatred over some person among the scholars.
Is this not what's happening?
And this is not what's going on right now? Are we not differing over opinions of scholars that may or may not be right? And that if the scholar is right, he get 2 rewards, and if he's incorrect, he get what? 1 reward?
I mean, and this comes right into what our brother Hassan Abdul Rahman said yesterday in the interview that he gave here. He the fact that we were raised up on personalities, not the sunnah, and the fact that we have been like that, it's very easy to get us to rally around a personality, not the text. And that's the problem. The problem is we're ignorant. We rally around personalities, not around the text of Quran and Sunnah and the Ijma' of the companions. We rally around names of scholars, and that's a big problem.
And that's where the emotion come from. Because you really don't, like the Sheikh said, the students haven't reached the level. So you don't, imagine the lay people, you really don't even know what the argument is about or who got what points, strong points or not strong points. You don't know the issue.
No.
So in terms, your emotion is coming from what? The scholar that's refuting.
Yep.
Your emotion is coming from the student that's refuting.
Between the scholar and you is this student.
I love this student, so he got to be right. This is where I take from.
Exactly.
You don't know the issue, so you don't know whether or not the student you rallying behind is correct or incorrect.
And the proof of that is I had a conversation with 3 brothers one time, right here on the app. And they didn't like some of the things we were saying, but the whole conversation was defending a personality. They never said anything about anything we said. Was it right academically? Why they disagreed with us in our positions that we're taking? It all was about defending names and personality. It was not one statement defending what we said. Was it against the Book of Allah, the Sunnah's message, the Ijma' of the companions? None of it. It was defending a name.
Look at the Sheikh teaching us in his answering. He said, if I learn he has made, meaning the scholar now, he said a scholar may even die and Allah would account all and he may have been an error. Meaning he may have been correct or an error. If I learn he has made an error in his words, it is obligatory to leave that and not repeat it. Other words, whenever he made an error in, I don't repeat that error. Look at this. Allahu Akbar. See the ihtiram, the respect. I don't go around spreading the error of that particular, and this is scholars for scholars here. But I don't go around spreading that particular error that he made. I don't repeat it, and I leave it alone because I know it's an error. He said, and I should find an excuse for him. The Sheikh don't stop. And I should find an excuse for him, right? Especially if I know the man was of good intention in the first place and should consider his making ijtihad, attempting to arrive at the truth. And this is talking about scholars who have the level of making ijtihad. And that's what the question was asked about scholars. Allahu Akbar. This is Sheikh Uthaymeen, brothers and sisters.
No.
Question number 4.
It says, the question was asked by the brother to Sheikh Uthaymeen. It says, who has a right to say someone has a bid'ah, a religious innovation, or falling into it, or call someone a deviant or an innovator? And what is the meaning of the word inhiraf?
This is nice.
The answer, Sheikh Uthaymeen, he says, inhiraf, deviating, means to swerve from the straight path. It could be a complete inhiraf, that reaches the level of disbelief. Or it could be an inhiraf, or swerving away from the truth, amounting to a shortcoming that does not lead to disbelief. The truth is we don't just decide the matter of what is innovation. The scale upon which we weigh the matter is the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. If this was not the case, then every issue in which there was a difference between scholars in fiqh and how many there are, we would say that all those who differ are innovators, right? And everyone who differs from us are innovators.
Look at this.
And all the fuqaha, scholars of fiqh, would be considered as having fallen to innovation. There are a few issues in Islam where there's absolutely no difference in.
Look at this. Allahu Akbar. So you see the scholar here? This is Sheikh Uthaymeen, rahmatullah alayh. And it seems as the Sheikh even in his answer is alluding to the fact of the incorrect and the unsoundness of believing that a group of scholars or one scholar is the returning point for when disputes or issues such as issuing someone to be upon deviation or issuing someone to be upon inhiraf. There is no one scholar. See how the Sheikh, he went back and said, listen, the Sheikh said here, Kitab and Sunnah is what we're going to weigh, not a statement of one scholar. Why? Because if you understand the scholars of fiqh, brothers and sisters, if you ever get a chance to learn about madhahib and learning stuff like that about fiqh, you're going to see that they're different. They're going to differ. There is not a position in the salat except that what? They differ.
There's
not one position in the salat except that they differ.
I mean, the reality is the scale of who's an innovator is not what we've been told. That it's a couple groups of scholars. For example, the scale is of who's an innovator is not returned back to Sheikh Mahmoud al-Amr. It's not returned to Sheikh Raslan or Sheikh Rabi'. It's not returned to Sheikh Abdullah Bukhari or Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi. It's returned to the Kitab and Sunnah. That's the scale. Not a name, a place, or a person or a thing.
No matter how many refutations anyone has under his belt or his academics, accomplishments or achievements or books that he's written on, he is not the sole authority of issuing or labeling someone upon deviation. And this is something that we must understand, the core problem. The core problem is, like I said, it's based off of ignorance and attaching ourselves blindly to personalities, no matter what level that they reach. We must, and Sheikh Mukbil used to always stress this, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, we must attach ourselves to dalil, to kitab with sunnah. That's what you want to get personal with. You want to attach yourself to that so you can weigh everyone according to that. You can weigh everyone according, even yourself.
Exactly. And the thing is that if somebody try to come and say, oh, well, that's a doubt because the scholars are using kitab wa sunnah to refute these people, this is the issue. Not everybody who goes into kitab wa sunnah ijma' is going to come out right in the end.
And that's another point.
You gotta understand
that's why when
doesn't matter how the level of scholar
that's
is.
why when you get to this issue of bid'ah and labeling someone this, when that scholar go into the kitab and the sunnah and the ijma', he is going to 9 times out of 10, he's going to come out by making a personal ijtihad in the first place.
Exactly.
If it's not something openly clear, unanimously, from amongst the usul of the salaf, that they made ijma' upon, that a person went against, then if it's independently in one issue, he's still going to have to gather the evidence to label that person an innovator, and that will be his own ijtihad. And guess what happened, brothers and sisters? You might find, and I'm going to give you a perfect example, you might find that a scholar or a group of scholars might deem another person to be upon innovation. And you might find another scholar coming along and said, I don't see that. I looked in this issue and I don't see that same thing. What example was I'm talking about? Sheikh Abdul Muslim himself. He did not deem Ma'ribi to be what?
An innovator.
An innovator. No one from amongst the ulama labeled Sheikh Abdul Muslim an innovator because of his stance.
Nope.
Later on he changed his stance, but I don't have no proof as a dalil. I heard rumors later on that he changed his stance, Allahu A'lam. But like I said, at the end of the day, no one to this day, as Sheikh Salih Rahimi mentioned, labeled Sheikh Abdul Muslim as a deviant because he does not deem Abu Hassan al-Ma'ribi to be a deviant.
Nah, subhanAllah.
This is the issue here. Because why? Sheikh Abdul Muslim understand it's ijtihad. I don't see that. The evidence not convincing. We need to know this, brothers and sisters. Let's stop arguing over opinions of men and our love and emotions. Yes, the brothers from Salafi Pub and Co. Yes, they have done a lot of good. And I challenge anyone to say that they haven't. They did do good. They translated a lot of the works of some of the ulama. They did good. They open up different things they have done. Lectures established. We're not going to remove that.
They introduce some scholars to us. And
The
things
acceptance of that good is with Allah, not us.
No.
But they have done good. And we can't act like as if they don't teach the i'tiqad of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah.
No.
But they also have made some mistakes, which was bound to happen to all of us. And those mistakes that they made, whether they was following their scholars in this particular issue and they didn't understand the issue, and those mistakes, or was some extremity, or whether it was oppressing their brothers, oppressing communities and groups based off of understandings that they didn't have, or the right amount of hikmah, then there's nothing wrong with us, for those who have the ability and the qualifications, to advise them. And to do what?
No.
And to bring them up on those errors, but at the same time, we should not split and divide.
Exactly.
Same time, we should not go at each other's throats if we have the same Aqidah.
And the thing about it is, and we see the corruption and all the oppression that they have done, outside the good they've done, it's actually an obligation to say something about it and not to let them get away with it, because actually it's being merciful. It's saying, listen, Aki, that's not correct. You have to leave that. And at the end of the day, this thing about saying something about Salafi publications or the brothers who are part of that organization is attacking Salafiyah or attacking the Salafis. We already dealt with that before. This is not attacking Salafiyah or the Salafis. This is dealing with a group of individuals who we see or deem to have made mistakes in certain areas that we're saying, Akhi. We're not saying you're not from Ahlul Sunnah, obviously, but we're saying those things have caused too much corruption and it has to be spoken on.
Question number 5. Then, if inhiraf, meaning deviation, is applied to a person, what is meant from it? I hope y'all brothers and sisters are really paying attention to these questions. Because these questions was asked back in 1999.
No.
In a private meeting with Sheikh Uthaymeen. If, wallahi, after we done with this, if we was to remove Sheikh Uthaymeen's name from this, remove his words and his name from this, and we was to just have you listening to the answers, and just read the answers while saying who said it, wallahi, there was some from amongst us who will believe that the Sheikh is a what?
Mumayyir.
Have tamyir. That the Sheikh is a mumayyir.
He's watering down
the dawah. Because the Sheikh is not sounding harsh. He's looking at the issue, he's answering the issue. Which shows me, and it just shows anyone, inshallah ta'ala, to see. Not everybody agree with what's going on right now.
No.
Salafi Pub can't push down no one throat, or any other brothers can't push down no one throat, one side. You can't push it down. You can't push down one throat, people, and say, no, you have to take it, and then break up a whole community based off of that.
No. Now, what happens if you do that, you become Ahli Shiqaq. That everywhere you go, one masjid becomes 3 masjids.
And that's the case right now. There is no place amongst the Salafiyun, and I challenge anyone to go look, and many people that look at the night shift, and many people that go everywhere, ask them. In any place where the Salafiyun is at, in any place where people who hold on to a certain mentality in dawah, as we see from our brothers as Pub and Co, with this being fair, you're going to see a lot of splitting and separation.
Yeah, you do.
It's going to be about 3 Salafiyun groups of Salafiyuns.
Yep.
2 Salafi groups of Salafiyuns. It's going to be like that. And it's going to be one group of Salafiyun calling the other Mumayyir.
And deviants.
Ikhwani.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That harshness. So then you're going to have to say this about Sheikh Uthaymeen. You're going to say the same thing about Sheikh Uthaymeen. Sheikh Abdul Aziz Al Ibaz.
No.
Sheikh Abdul Muhsin.
No.
The Grand Mufti. You're going to say the
Salih
same
Fawzan.
thing. Sheikh Salih Fawzan.
They all say the same thing. And he says, the answer, the Sheikh visually illustrated an example in the room saying, here's a straight path from here to the door. If one goes away from here, then what? The group responded, inhiraf. Yes, it is inhiraf. However, it may be slight and easy to return from it, or it could be major. And this is the example given by the Prophet ﷺ when he drew a straight line and then lines from both sides.
Question number 6.
Question number 6.
How can someone return if going off that path? Is there a door of return? Throughout the years, brothers and sisters, we have seen with our brothers from Salafi Pub and Co, and we're being honest here.
Yeah.
We're not attacking no one. They have not accepted no one retraction.
Nope.
We have not seen them accepting the retraction of anyone. And you name it. People who retracted their statements live, publicly, wrote bayans, which I don't agree with writing bayans, period.
No.
Anyway, but for those who've written bayans, they have not accepted the retraction of anyone.
And they still call them deviants and still come out their name to this day.
Allah musta'an. Is there a door open for them? Okay? Look what the Sheikh said. He responded and said, by Allah, the way to get back is to clarify the truth with kindness and compassion without assaulting the man and saying to him, you mubtadi', you hizbi, you ikhwani, you mumayyi', you hizbi dog,
Yeah.
you sympathizer, you who disrespect
you
the scholars.
knucklehead, you idiot, you munafiq. Has been so said a couple of days about me and a particular brother here today that we're munafiqun. May Allah
The statements made randomly.
yeah, made randomly.
And we see this. You khabith, you filthy dog, you despicable, repugnant person.
One person said, may Allah destroy your mouths. May dua against.
You are astray. That may do nothing except cause him to hold more tightly to his opinion, and at the least he will seek to defend himself or seek to support himself. And that's what we see today.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen, the Sheikh said? First of all, you're going to make him stick to clinchily hard on what he was on anyway.
Exactly.
And then he might have to defend himself and support what he's on. And it can be possible that he was incorrect. But because of your harshness, because of the way you dealt with him, now this is his outcome.
Yep.
Henceforth, you see what's going on now. And everyone mad. They in an uproar. Shadid Muhammad, will you hear that he said this? No, Akhi. Did you look at the people who did what they did to Shadid Muhammad? Did you look at that? We're not agreeing that Shadid Muhammad have the best manners in dealing with the situation. We're not saying he's above reproach or not to be advised or that, she shouldn't have said certain things. But in reality, though, look what this Sheikh is saying. Did you not call him out of his name? Did you not warn against him for years? Did you not spur his honor? Did you not do any of these things?
Destroy the man's name.
Kept him where he's at? Isolated him? For 10 years, for 8 years?
Now he has the right to defend himself at this point.
And now he's going to defend himself. The Sheikh didn't say he has a right. The Sheikh said that it's going to cause the person at the least to defend himself and support himself.
It's human nature.
And now people are shocked. Why Shadid seem harsh towards everyone else? Why he seemed like he don't have these their brothers? Why it seem like you didn't made...
How you going to see somebody as your brother that all they want to do is destroy you? You're not even going to see these individuals as your brother. And like I said, everybody can be right or wrong and things like that. Some of the things, a lot of the things the brother says obviously are correct, and some of the things he says sometimes he can be pulled back a little bit. But at the end of the day, he's his own man. And at the end of the day, the man is going to defend himself because it's been 10 years of destroying and attacking this man's person and honor.
And I'm only saying from here what the Sheikh is saying here, as a result of doing that to somebody, this is what you can get.
Yep.
However, one should come to him with that which is better. Invite him to your home or go to him for a visit and say, this matter is causing a problem for me. Mm-hmm. He would say, for sure it is a problem. However, decrease the dispute with him by approaching him humbly, almost as though you have the problem. Look what the Sheikh said, almost as though you have the problem and not him. Allah the Almighty and Majestic says, is Allah better or those who dare strive as partners? Knowing full well that Allah is indeed better, but this was put for the sake of a disputing, for the sake of argument. You see how Allah does this? Look how the Sheikh is drawing from the ayat. Allah Jalla wa Ala is calling to a person's intellect. Look at this. To the dispute. Is Allah better or the one you what? The partner you describe.
Exactly.
This is hikmah right here. And I want to take time to point this out. Because the Sheikh is using this to solidify his argument or his point he's trying to make. Is Allah better or those who dare strive as partners? Knowing full well that Allah is indeed better. There's no doubt. But this was put for the sake of disputing, for the sake of argument. Go and say to him, we came to settle this problem. Your words were such and such. Please clarify to me so we can come to an understanding or agreement. If one goes to this extent, I believe the brother will humble himself and comply in the face of such leniency and kindness. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said that there is nothing that rift enters upon except that it what?
Beautifies.
It beautifies it. Allah Jalla wa Ala told Musa to go to Pharaoh, who was a tyrant.
إِنَّهُ طَغَى.
And say to him a word that's what?
فَقَالَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا.
Say to him a mild word.
No.
Don't speak to him hard, speak to him soft. And we got our brothers speaking to each other like...
And and another thing is like, another example, if you're going to go to somebody and want them to leave something, what are you going to replace that with? Insults? Attacks? Honor? Or are you going to replace it with the sunnah, which is better than you think that he's upon, which you deem to be a mistake? Because it might not even be a mistake. In a lot of cases, it don't even be mistakes sometimes. It just be personal. But the reality is that if you're going to remove something from somebody, what are you going to replace it with? Name calling?
SubhanAllah. The Sheikh said, question number 7.
It says, what do we do in a situation where some brothers say we will not go to such and such a place because so-and-so will be there? In other words, what are the guidelines with regards to doing hijran, boycott, in the matter of inhiraf, deviation?
So you hear this? This is very specific. Very specific. It's as if Sheikh Uthaymeen is alive right now.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
This questions were asked in 1999.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we're dealing with right now. Well, I'm not coming to that masjid because they invited Tahir. I'm not going to that masjid because they invited Shadid. I'm not going to that masjid because they invited so-and-so. I'm not dealing with them because they deal with so-and-so.
Is it from the usul to boycott Ahlul Sunnah? Is it from the foundation of principle of religion to boycott somebody from Ahlul Sunnah?
Look what the Sheikh said. He said, first, know that it is not permissible against one who is a believer. That's number one. Every believer is not permitted to be boycotted. Absolutely. Even if he is an adulterer or a thief, a drinker or a killer, because none of that takes him out of having Iman. Look at the Sheikh saying. Every believer absolutely is what? Not permissible to be boycotted.
You know why? Because Iman
it's still there.
If man is the condition that unity is based upon. So how can you completely boycott somebody who has the condition that you have to stick with them?
Allahu Akbar.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
Then he brings a verse where Allah said, if two parties among the believers fall into a dispute, make peace between them. But if one of them transgress beyond the bounds against the other, then fight you all against the one that transgresses until it complies with the command of Allah. But if they comply, then make peace between them with justice and be fair, for Allah loves those who are fair and just. Surah Hujurat, Ayat 9. The Sheikh says, so it is not permissible permitted that a believer be boycotted. It is not allowed for a man to boycott another believer for more than 3 days. Now he brings the hadith. Right? He said also, it is not allowed for 3 days. He said, if the two meet, the best one is the one who initiates the salam first. Do you understand? It is not permissible unless there is an overall benefit to the boycott. Namely, that it causes the person being boycotted to leave the sin he is being boycotted for. In this case, the boycott is medicine. If such would be a cure for the illness, then let it be so. But if not, then stay away from it. Yeah. Sometimes boycotting can be a cause for increase in the deviation and the loss of the person himself.
I mean, this is the thing, right? When the brothers decided to boycott our brother Shadid Muhammad, right, who was I believe is from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah without a shadow of a doubt, right? When they decided to boycott the brother, what they deemed to be mistakes from him, did it get the result that Sheikh Uthaymeen is saying? Was it medicine for the problem? Did the brother get farther away from y'all, or did he come closer? I mean, at the end of the day, you're boycotting, which you didn't have the right to do anyway. Did it bring about any rectification? If it didn't, then it was supposed to be left off.
He said, if, however, you give the greetings to the person and smile in his face, he will be softer and return to the truth. He said, to boycott because he cuts his beard or smokes cigarettes or deals with riba is not correct. He is still a believer. The kafir is one whom we do not initiate giving the salam first. But what if he greets us with the salam? We are obligated to return the greeting according to the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal. So when a courteous greeting is offered you, meet it with a greeting still more courteous, or at least or equal courtesy. This is Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4, verse 86. And the Sheikh finished it. He said, we don't stay away, and such a person is a kafir. These issues are in actuality very specific, and ones in which it is not allowable for us to judge according to emotions. So we can't base our emotion when doing. And this is, again, I sound redundant. I have to say this because the brothers didn't answer this question. They answered a lot of our questions, but they didn't answer this question about the agreement.
Yeah, they didn't.
This is why they signed the agreement in the first place, and not the deal and boycott.
Because they're not the people of it.
They don't have the necessary level of knowledge or taqwa and understanding
and patience
to actually implement it.
No, they don't.
That's the problem. We're not just talking about S pubs and co, even though this specifically the agreement was for them, but we're talking about any one of us that delves in this type of stuff. We have to make sure we can have the necessary qualifications for doing it, and that it becomes a medicine.
Yep.
Right? For the illness of that particular thing. So the Sheikh, he said at the end of that, he said, namely return to the kitab. He said we must always return to the judge. Namely, return to the Kitab and the Sunnah and the deeds of the righteous predecessors.
Exactly.
Salaf as-Salih. Question number 8.
It says, question number 8, they asked the Sheikh Uthaymeen, let us be more specific and ask one of the main issues in question, but without naming names or personalities. Suppose one of the scholars said a group was very bad, or worse, or more dangerous than the Jews and Christians. And someone else says we can't generalize because there are so many people among them who are ignorant of this group problems. And is a greater wrong to make general statements that will unduly hurt them. How do we treat that person? Right? Basically saying is, say if a scholar said about a particular group, the group is worse than the Jews and Christians. Then somebody in response to that said, well, I hear the sheikh, but to make a statement like that, and there's people amongst them who are just general people, to say that they're worse than the Jews and Christians, that statement may end up hurting the general people who are amongst them, who may not know that the people really are upon that. Should we make those statements about this group when general people may misunderstand it and be harmed by that particular statement? This is basically what the meaning
Sheikh said, why doesn't he, meaning the scholar in question, say madhab or way of this group is more dangerous to Islam than the Jews and the Christians? The way of this group. This is more correct and safer without committing access upon the members of the group. Let's make a disclaimer here. Sheikh Uthaymeen is a scholar and he's not infallible. So this is based off Sheikh Uthaymeen's opinion. Okay? We're not blind following Sheikh Uthaymeen here. The only thing we're trying to mention to you, brothers and sisters, is that senior scholars before us took stances similar to what Maktab Ibn Taymiyyah has been taking.
Exactly.
And no one should blame someone if you're not going to pass that same ruling off to these particular scholars as well.
Exactly.
So he goes on, he said, after that he said, this is more safer without committing excess upon the members of the group. Let's give an example of the Shia. The extreme Shia are more dangerous than the Jews and the Christians because they say their imams control the universe. And that their imams are better than the messengers. Then they curse the companions on the minbars and they curse the mother of the believers, Aisha anha. The one upon whose chest the Prophet ﷺ died and one whose saliva was the last thing he tasted in this world on her day in her house. They will accuse her. Not even the Jews and the Christians said such a thing. On top of it, it is the problem that they say this is Islam. This is a problem. What does Allah say about them? He said, Humul adu fahdharuhum. They are the enemy, so be on guard against them. This is a type of restrictive sentence, so note it's two parts. They are the enemy, so be on guard against them. That's two. Even with this, I don't see a total rejection of the mitzvah of them, saying such as, you Shia are a bunch of kafirs. I say rather the madhab, the way, and whoever follows its way is more dangerous to Islam than the Jews and the Christians. This is more correct. Is that clear? Allahu Akbar.
No.
Look at this Sheikh Hikmah.
He didn't make things specific. He didn't just attack. And he's talking about the Shia. And listen, the thing we get from that, he's talking about the Shia was clearly that some of the groups of the Shia are disbelievers. No, without a shadow of a doubt. All of them are not. If that's the case that the Sheikh is saying, look how to move with them and be easy and try to get them to get off what they own or how to refute them with easiness and how to refute them, then what about somebody who's from Ahlul Sunnah? What about somebody whose origin is Kitab, Sunnah, Ijma', and he may make a mistake or what you deem to be a mistake? What about them? How do we handle them? SubhanAllah. So to have more mercy and more kindness.
Okay, Tayyip, question number 10. We're going to move over to question number 9. It's still in continuation. Question number 9 is more detailed.
It says,
question number 10 we're going to do. Suppose I see someone who has made a mistake in their religion, maybe in Aqidah, beliefs, maybe in an action or in minhaj, manner of practice. Is it permissible for me with little knowledge to advise him? Okay. The Sheikh respond. Has it not reached you that the Prophet ﷺ said, convey about me even if it be a single ayat? Enough. So the Sheikh is going to explain to you that he's going to talk about the question of saying that even though I have a little bit of knowledge, okay, in this case, he's going to mention that you can relay. He's going to break it down. Someone states, we love you for the sake of Allah, Sheikh. They intervened. The Sheikh said, we love the one who has caused you to love me. Allah has made us beloved to the one another and made us for those who strive in his cause. Rather, he is in control of all things. Remain firm and stick together. Question number 11. Is it correct for a group of students of knowledge to make a ruling on an individual without going to him to speak with him or advise him first and instead go to others and warn them against this person?
Now, before we go on, right, to answer this question, we understand that the brothers make videos and they went and asked some scholars who said, some scholars, you don't have to go advise before you warn against him and things like that. The whole point of this is showing that there were senior scholars who are actually even more knowledgeable than the scholars. They went to senior scholars like Bin Baz, Uthaymeen, Albani, who said you have to go talk to these people. In fact, I remember when Shadid was here, and one of the scholars he went to, one of the senior scholars said, Sheikh Louis Hadan, did Ubayd talk to you? So obviously, Sheikh Louis Hadan is of the opinion that how can you warn against somebody and you never even talk to this individual?
No. So it's important to understand this. All right, is it correct for, we have said that, right?
No.
The answer is no, never. Okay? Is it correct for a group of students and scholars to make a ruling on an individual without going to him to speak with him? Or advise him first and instead to go to others and warn them against this person? The Sheikh said, la abadan. No, never. First, if you hear something about a person and you see him as mistaken, there are stages. Pay attention, brothers and sisters. The first stage is confirmation. Mm-hmm. You must confirm. Go back to what Sheikh Salih Suhaimi was saying. Mm-hmm. You must confirm that what is said about the particular person is true. Mm-hmm. And that he actually said it in the context in which you're saying he said it. Or he did it in the context or in the way that you're describing it. That must be understood. The transmission about the person may or may not be correct. This is important to understand that.
The person who's telling you may not even understood what he was even being said to him.
How many people transmit some statement about a person and they either misunderstood it or with the intention of causing enmity between the Muslims? Never rule that out. Another problem that people have, and Sheikh Salih Suhaimi told the upper peer scholars, that's because you deem someone who comes to you trustworthy, you still have to investigate because we live in a time of fitna. Not everyone that's going to come and ask is asking for what? A just cause.
No,
it might be some jealousy in his heart that he have against a person, and I'm just going to call the Sheikh on you. We've seen a little bit of that with our brother interview, Hassan Abdurrahman Al-Amriki, who's in Egypt right now, and been in Egypt for years and studied. And he's been around with a lot of the brothers. A lot of the brothers, they know him. You can ask about him, they know him. Yes, but anyway, he mentioned how back then everyone was with the boogeyman concept. Ahlul Hadith or Germantown to be, I'm going to call a scholar. No, I'm going to call a scholar. They had this concept, I'm going to call a scholar on him. I'm going to call a scholar on you. And this concept of running back to the Sheikh and just getting the Sheikh to say something about so-and-so, putting out a tape, back then it was tapes, putting out something on him, and then the kalam circulate. This is still going on. We have to be careful with that because you just never know.
Even if it's the truth, the person intent of telling you the truth may be to separate the Muslims from each other.
Exactly. So how many people transmit some statement about a person and they either misunderstood it or with the intention of causing enmity between the Muslims? So first is confirmation. And what can be better than the statement of Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and refutation of the Rafidah in his book, The Way of the Sunnah, about when a text is mentioned? The first thing demanded is verification of the transmission. You must make sure that it's what? It's verification that actually it is how it's transmitted.
It's not tainted.
This is a rule and it is important. Secondly, if the transmission is verified, let us look. Is there an explanation for it? That perhaps the transmitter, Allahu Akbar, he said perhaps the transmitter did or did not understand. Is it possible that the brother you so eager to go back to a scholar on may or may not understood that? Is it Is it not possible? It could be possible that he truly is mistaken on that issue. How many brothers have made a blunder in their statement? We got hadiths where the man, he said what? In the desert. When he found this.
He said, oh Allah, I'm your Lord, you're my slave.
That's what he said. He was so jubilated and so happy that his donkey or whatever had came back with his belongings on it because he was stranded in the desert, that he made a statement of kufr.
Yeah, he did.
That was a statement of disbelief. But Allah didn't charge him with disbelief. What about the issue of the man that told his children to do what?
Burn him into dust and then spread it in the ocean because he believed that Allah wasn't going to be able to bring him back together. But Allah forgave him because he did it out fair in Allah.
Exactly. But this action was an action of what?
Kufr.
Kufr. Again, but Allah didn't charge him with kufr. Pay attention, brothers and sisters. It's very important. The Sheikh is dropping some Jews. If we see that there is an explanation and the transmitter, the one who carried this misunderstood, we say to the transmitter, brother, fear Allah. The man is in such and such, or the meaning is so and so. Then we will be defending the truth and saving this man from slandering his brother. This is what we will be doing. And this is exactly our stance have since we started the night shift. We've been saying to Salafi Pub and Co., for those who think that we're attacking them, we have been saying to them, fear Allah. It may not be the way that you're thinking or transmitting it that it is. If that individual, if you don't have no proof that he went against the usul, fear Allah. If you have no proof that his Aqidah is not the same as the Aqidah of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, fear Allah. It's possible that he could have misunderstood the issue. He could have misunderstood the issue.
And before the brother goes on, we're going to say that, like you said, defend the honor of the Muslims. Alhamdulillah, may Allah forgive. We haven't, as I believe, we haven't taken anybody's honor and things like that. I will defend any Muslim's honor if he's being oppressed. I remember when they tried to make these videos of Hassan and Abu Khadija when they dancing and the gun thing like that. We're not accepting that. And even people that go to this masjid that might slip up and try to call those brothers deviants or call those brothers this or that, we never allow that to happen. And we're going to say something about it to the people who are around us. We're not going to allow that to happen. And just like we're not going to allow somebody to try to defame Mufti or defame Shadid or defame any brother. You got to bring evidence that they're what you're saying they are. If not, we're not accepting it.
And nor is the night shift, now there's going to be time to say this, nor is the night shift, brothers and sisters, the night shift is not with any side. I want to make this clear. We're with the truth. And we're going to defend whoever the truth needs to be defended. If the truth is with them, then the truth is there. We don't call to personalities. Ashkhas, we don't call to personalities. And it's something that you must understand. We all got to get away from that. Yes, we love all of our brothers. We deem the people that we've been talking about, trying to restore their honor, trying to restore some order back into this chaotic situation we found ourselves in. We deem all of them still to be from Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, even if they made some mistakes and some errors along the way, which we see clearly that it's not just mistakes made on one side, it's mistakes made on all across around the border, and that's the case, we still deem them to be from Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. I still deem S-Pubs and Co. to be from Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But at the same time, we have to advise one another. And that's even with students of knowledge. Y'all need to leave the door open. Our brother Shadid can leave the door open so people can advise him. And they can bring him close. So when he make a statement that isn't correct, he can do that. Anyone, Sheikh Tahir Wyatt, Mufti, anyone, Hassan Somali, anyone should leave the door open that someone can come to them and take them by the hand and advise them when they make a mistake. Anyone. We're not making no picks on this. Anyone. Okay? So don't think that the night shift was designed just go at Spubs and totally demolish them. No, I'm not pushing your party. I'm pushing the truth. I want the Salafis to come back to the truth and inshallah and stick upon that.
Exactly. Our issue with S-Pubs and those brothers is not because they don't like these particular brothers. Our issue with S-Pub is and those brothers in that particular organization is because we have jealousy for Islam. We see Islam being transgressed.
No.
And by transgressing the rights and oppressing the rights of those particular brothers like Shadid or Mufti or any of those brothers we deem to be from Ahlus Sunnah and we deem you to be from Ahlus Sunnah, we're not going to allow you to get away with it, not because of their personality, because transgressing them and oppressing them is transgressing Islam. And we're not going to allow that to happen.
30. If there is no explanation, then it is obligatory that we go to whom the news is being said about and say, we heard such and such. Hear this? Thirdly, if there is the person's transmission, there is no explanation, we cannot explain why he said or did what he did, then we need to go to him and ask him, we heard such and such. Is it correct or not? If he says yes, then we should be polite and mannerly with him and not provoke or upset him and let him know that there is a problem here. Did not Allah say such and such? Did not the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam say such and such? It is necessary that we return to the truth. He may have knowledge that is not with me. And when I engage him, he may point me to some knowledge and it will be obligatory for me to follow it.
Subhanallah. He didn't say go warn against the guy.
Look how Sheikh Uthaymeen is teaching us. Even in the answering. And his jawab, he has given us benefit. Brothers and sisters, there are always beautiful benefits that you can extract. Even when speaking about issues such as dispute and so forth. We should all be able to benefit. Allah musta'an. Number 12.
Is it permissible to say to the person, we saw you with so-and-so, Muqtadi, innovator, as though you follow this innovating group? Answer, never. You engage him as though you never heard anything about it.
Allahu Akbar. So here the Sheikh saying you don't do ilhaq in this case. You don't jump around, oh yeah, I saw him with so-and-so is from Mujahideen Masjid, so he must be, you know.
Because as our brother eloquently put it, Hassan Abdul Rahman put it, may Allah preserve him, you're only guilty by association when you're guilty.
Exactly.
When you did something to be guilty of.
Or if you carry in your heart the belief of that which they are upon.
Exactly.
When you support and defend that which they are upon.
Exactly.
That's when you only, you know, you're guilty of association, when it can become clearly from your words and from your actions. But if that's not the case, we don't say, I saw him with so-and-so or at masjid so-and-so, so he must be with them.
SubhanAllah.
Sheikh said, no. You engage him as though what? You never even heard that thing about him. How many oftentimes we see a da'i or a student of knowledge that can be walking down the street with a female who's not properly covered, right? And at the same time, that could be his cousin.
No.
That could be his sister.
No.
Right? She's not Muslim. That can be his aunt. Anyone. You just don't jump right off the bat.
I'm going to give you two real life situations that happened to me personally. I was sitting in Jamia Masjid on their 43rd and Walnut, and they were giving a class, and the brother was going to Riyadh Salihin. And we're sitting in the class, just benefiting. You know, it's a general class with people just coming in and out and things like that. After that, the next day I went to work. I was working at the Islamic school, Tarbiyat al-Ilm, and it was said in passing in the wind that I take benefit from Masjid Jamia, which, you know, the brother who was actually teaching is actually a person of the Sunnah, and he was known in Egypt and things like that. But that's a whole other issue. But I'm saying is they just automatically said, you're on what they're on because we see you sitting in the masjid. A second issue was I was at Jum'ah Masjid Wasatiyah. And on the way out, I seen a particular brother. He seen us. He seen me coming out of Jum'ah. The next day, when I went back to school, it was, man, the brothers were with Wasatiyah because I seen him for Jum'ah. Well, you were there too at the end of the day. But so this is just real life examples of how they'll place you in an environment. And these places don't even deem them to be places of innovation. But even if they were, you automatically put that on somebody because you see them walk out of there. It's very dangerous, Akhi.
So the last question, brothers and sisters, is if a brother feels harmed or hurt by the actions of some other brothers, that they have hidden themselves from that person, and as a result he feels his hurt is in his heart, how can he go about healing that or making some type of reconciliation in himself? And how can those brothers perhaps be corrected if their actions indeed are wrong? The Shaykh responds so that we have a better understanding. Throughout the years, there has been a side that has believed what they was upon was correct, and the stances that they have taken was correct, and the way that they went about it was correct. However, there has also been a side that have oppressed in their position against other individuals, have defamed them, have dishonored them, have spoken ill of them, have cut off ties with them, and made them feel some type of way where it's really hard for them to come up off of this. This is legitimate. Like, for example, you see the likes of Shadid Muhammad, which is a perfect case here.
Yep.
A perfect case study of here. That throughout the years, my name has been dragged through the mud, and you know, I have took stances, and I may did some things, and I'm out here, you know, doing what I can and teaching and trying to, you know, the best way I can.
Yeah.
And you guys continue to drag my name through the mud.
Yep.
Most people, Sheikh Tahir Wyatt, another one, who haven't, by the permission of Allah, may Allah protect them and safeguard them, who haven't displayed anything of such of coming back and speaking ill of any of these brothers, or even defending his own honor by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and only praises with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we're not saying there's nothing wrong to defend your honor, okay? Earlier we mentioned that, but watch what the Sheikh said here. He said he should remember the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah showed mercy to my brother Musa, who was harmed more than this, and he was patient. This is going to come from someone who has some understanding of sunnah, someone who has some understanding of taqwa. This is what he's going to do. He's going to reflect now. And I want to bring a point home. Shaykh Uthaymeen, in his lifetime, he was actually criticized, and there were some harsh statements said against him pertaining to the issue of ma'iyyah. When he was explaining the ma'iyyah of Allah Azza wa Jal, and when it means by ma'iyyah, meaning that Allah Jalla wa Ala is with a person, some people misunderstood his statement, and they believed that the Shaykh had made a mistake, and that he described that Allah is actually with his creation. So it's well known, it's recorded. And the Shaykh, alhamdulillah, he was actually people stopped going to his classes.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was a lot of stuff that happened. Also, during the time of Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he was also what? What happened to him? Where people try to say that he was giving the khutbah and he was talking about Allah nuzul, Allah descending. And they said that when he was saying it, he was walking down, and that made it seem like he was resembling the creation, Allah's transcendence, like Allah's creation.
Exactly.
And they was accusing him of that. You have Sheikh Imam Bukhari, Abu Abdullah Ismail. You have him, Al-Bukhari, Sahib al-Sahih, who his teacher was one of the people who ridiculed him and told people to stay away from him. So there's no one that's going to be alive. You had the Prophet ﷺ himself. They would call him a madman. They would call him a poet. They would say he's a magician. They would say all these things about him. So you have someone saying something about you. So this advice I want to give to everyone who might have felt oppressed. And this advice is sincerely to our brother Shadeed Muhammad and anyone, Muhammad Munir, any of the brothers who felt oppressed. Be patient, as the Sheikh is saying here, and reflect upon the statement of the Prophet ﷺ that my brother Musa, who was harmed more than this, and he was patient. Be patient, the Sheikh says, and the end is for the pious. As Allah said, this is of the knowledge of the ghaib, the unseen we have revealed to you. You were not aware of it, nor were your people before you. Be patient for the deed, the end is for the pious. So Allah Jalla wa Ala might allow things to happen, and out of his hikmah we must be patient. Also, look at the stance of the two brothers of Adam, the two sons of Adam.
Yeah, he was patient.
He was only patient. What did he do? He said, I'm not going to lift my hands
against
up
you
to even defend myself. I'm not going to put that upon myself. I'm not going to defend myself. So this is the patient. And I know a lot of people say that they've been patient. To be honest with you, we don't know the meaning of patience. So a lot of us always say we've been patient. Wallahi, 950 years. Nuh alayhi salam called his people 950 years. He described it. And to the end he made dua. There's the description that he gave. Just pay attention to this story. He said, I called them out in open. I called them privately, in secret. I reminded them of their Lord. I asked them if they seek the forgiveness of the Lord, they would be this, abundance of that. But they did nothing but put their ears in their fingers in their ears. They put their toes in their mouths. It was arrogant against me.
Yep.
Only but a few, and they laughed at it. Only but a few people believed with him. To the end he made dua that Allah don't leave any one of them alive. But 950 years. And we're talking about 9 minutes, 9 months, 9 years. And we say this is patient. That's not patience. Allah Jalla wa Ala is patience. You have multitude of servants that's on this earth who commit shirk with Allah night and day. You have multitudes of servants who say things about Allah that he have a son. You have multitudes of servants who say that the angels of Allah are the daughters of Allah. You have multitudes of servants who say a lot of grave things that Allah is one of three. But he have yet to destroy us. He have yet to what? Dismantle us. When he could have done this. This is patience. So patience is very important. And that's a reminder for myself and for all of us. Any dua in the field of giving dawah, we have to exercise patience. And Allah Jalla wa Ala said what? This is something that what? Not granted to anyone. Except it is a what? Illa haddan azim. It is a great portion. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do.
And at the end, you gotta. It's no problem defending your honor. When you defend your honor, I'm gonna give my advice to all of them. When you defend your honor because Islam says your honor shouldn't be transgressed. Don't defend your honor because it's just your honor. Defend it because transgressing your honor is transgressing the bounds of Islam. No. And when you do it, keep it academic. And don't try to destroy your opponent. But at the same time, no doubt about things have to be said, and some things have to be said, and some things have to be exposed. When we do it, let's just try to do it in a way where it's academic and the principles and the points get across. No. And that's be the better way to do it, inshallah.
No, man. And on top of that, the best thing to do is, as Allah said in the Quran, Allah Jalla wa Ala, he mentioned in Surah Shura, which is Surah 42, he talks about someone who strikes you. Allah said it's permissible that you can strike them back no more than the blow that they strike you. But then after that verse, look what he say after that. He said, but it's more better for the one not to do it, to return the blow back. He said, actually, there's a reward greater than the one not returning the blow. No, we don't believe in turning the other cheek. Another point I want to bring that, yes, it's better to have someone else defend your honor. And that's what Allah does. Allah defend the honors of his servants. Tahir Wyatt never called us once and said, you brothers should start the night shift and start defending my honor.
No, he never did.
None of the brothers. Shadeed Muhammad never called us. Mufti Munir never called us. None of the brothers ever called us and said, you need to defend my honor. None of them. But Allah Jalla wa Ala, placed inside the hearts of people who see injustice, and they stand up on behalf of those individuals, and they say things, to defend people's honors and what's just and what's right. So let other people defend your honor. You know why? Because it comes off more better, and it comes off more sincere to the people in the audience, especially, and they don't see it as a split, because some people can say it's personal. But nevertheless, alhamdulillah, we ask everyone, let's return back to really start seeking knowledge. This will be our final remarks on the, I know it's kind of long-winded, but I just wanted to say this. There is legitimate points on the side of S Pubs, and that legitimate points I'm going to say is the following. I believe that those guys, besides the twisting, the lying, and all the extra stuff that we have seen, the bad mannerisms, the bad etiquettes, the character assassination, the name calling, all of that stuff, put that to the side.
The misuse of principles.
The misuse of principles. Put that to the side. Let's look at the actual legitimacy that they have. The legitimacy that I believe that those guys have is that they have observed some things, and they have, in their observation, they have observed some things, so they have observation. They have seen some things that may or may not have been questionable to them. Right? Until their understanding is for that. Also, they are following some guidelines set down from some scholars. And they believe that those guidelines are the correct way to judge situations and circumstances amongst people who are deviant groups or who goes upon deviation. So in that point, we understand that we respect the position that they take with those scholars. But at the end, we don't respect the fact that now they want to make it imposing on everybody else.
Who doesn't agree with them.
Who doesn't agree
or
with them.
Or agree with those scholars.
Or agree with those scholars. And that's where I believe the problem really comes in at. And I also believe the problem come in with the other personal stuff, name calling and everything else. But I'm saying, mainly with that, do not force the position of any of your scholars on anyone else. And especially among students of knowledge, because a student of knowledge might not take the position that your scholar is bringing.
Exactly.
And you don't have to take it.
No.
So that's what I believe, that's on that side, and the truth should be that which is desired. So we advise all parties, inshallah ta'ala. They're not going to stop with the Twitter. I don't think they're going to give up at this point. They're going to keep continuing with that.
No.
But the night shift, we're done with them.
No. Well, what we're going to do is
we're done with them.
This was translated by our brother Abdul Qadir Abdul Khaliq. May Allah preserve him and give him good in this life and the next.
Ameen.
But what we're going to do, like I said, we're even though we're going to have interviews, and the interviews may discuss the history of Salafi pubs and the history of all those things like that. But as for me and Abu Zaid, we're going to still keep dealing with the principles and certain characteristics that exist in our communities that are cultish or Hizbiyya-like.
But not just for them. It's not just for them.
This is going to be a general.
It's just for all of us to stay away from.
Exactly, right? And we'll start gearing more towards dealing with the effects of sins and the effects of alcoholism, the effects of fornication, the effects of drug use in our communities. We're going to start going towards that and try to build on top of those issues and try to establish something that can be a real model of fixing some of the ills that exist in our community that's had that idea, extremism or partisanship or cult characteristics or fornication or alcoholism. All these things are considered to be social ills and ills that exist in our community.
No, so we're going to move away from it. Brothers and sisters, please do not call anyone no bad names. And I know they might oppress you over the years. Do what the Sheikh is saying here. Let's try to do what the Prophet ﷺ did, and remember that, let's just be merciful towards one another. Make dua. You can make dua even for your oppressor. I understand that. Make dua. I don't understand why we don't. Make dua. Make dua that Allah Jalla wa Ala rectify the hearts. No. Make dua. Just as much as we strongly go against them in our typing and speaking of them, think dua. And ignore those who continue upon the way that they are.
Ameen. Ameen.